like we were talking about it, of franchises, at least in the 2000s, and really all time, it's like Harry Potter, Star Wars, Pirates of the Caribbean, this, Star Trek maybe, but like in terms of video games, books, TV shows, cartoons, toys, like everything that you could get. Does it get any higher than, like, Spider-Man is like the most, like, we listened to the CD from the soundtrack.
Well,
we played the games. You when you played on the...
It's like one of the most ubiquitous properties out there.
Right.
Yeah. Encapsulating all forms of entertainment and pop culture.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It even took over memes.
It's like one of the longest running ones, too, because, like, when did the comics start? Like the 50s or 60s or something? I don't remember exactly. I mean, not as old as like Superman or anything.
I have a hard time with the comic. Like, I kind of wanted to do a little bit on the research. I'm like, the dude made like 20,000 different.
Well, I'm just saying, like, in terms of like Spider-Man's longevity, like it's still like you could argue that it's the most popular it's ever been right now. Because you got like the MCU Spider-Man, you got the Spider-Verse movies, you got the video games that are out right now.
Yeah, like in the last 5 years, think about that. That's.
I mean, I'm playing a Spider-Man video. Me and Pete play Spider-Man video games.
Yeah, I want to tap in.
Yeah,
like
it's kind of fun.
Hey.
Yeah.
Are you playing the like new one that just came out? Like one of the newer ones?
I saw that they had a new one out, and I was like, I don't know if I want to drop $60 on that. But
fair.
Like, I mean, we have an older one. Like, me and Pete play like one of the first, like, whatever one came out in 2016 or 18.
Okay.
And we play that, and Preston comes over, and it's always, he's like, hey, Dad, can we play Spider-Man? And I wasn't even thinking about it. I was like, that's just how naturally ingrained it is.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Like I only have 5 games on the PlayStation. That's one of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It speaks volumes. And speaking of volumes, you guys are going to want to turn your volumes up because we're going to talk about Spider-Man 2.
Here we go.
Yeah, and I believe I got Spider-Man 1, so Mac, feel free to take over.
Lightweight here.
There are bigger things happening here than me and you.
Oh,
Peter.
yeah, Spider-Man to Doc Ock. I'm trying to...
Harry.
Harry.
Yeah.
It's one of the most...
yeah, that's right.
Dude, it was one of the most powerful lines, I felt like, and you could disagree with me on it.
No, he's wrapped in barbed wire, and then he's like, Pete? And then he immediately like goes, Gadoosh! And like knocks the barbed wire off with just flexing his pecs.
Yeah. But the thing that I love about it is that there's so much like hostility that they've had the whole time. Yeah. And it's like a moment of sobriety between the both of them to understand
things going on than just our little deal
here. Yeah. And I was like,
okay, I remember that now.
Yeah. And when Toby delivers it, and it's like, oh shit, like it felt very sincere, genuine, and like, dude, we'll handle this when we handle it, but right now I got to take care of something else.
That might be the biggest scene in all of the movies.
Yeah,
because it's like the big confrontation and reveal.
Yeah,
he's dead to rights on a couch. James Franco has a dagger.
Yeah.
It's pretty dramatic.
It's got like
what happened to the gun in the drawer?
It's like a letter opener kind of dagger.
Oh, by the way, I mean, come on, he's hiding the tritium in that room too. Like, he's got these fucking chemicals that can bring down New York City, and he's like, it's behind the Mona Lisa. Like, where are you stashing this shit? Don't you have like a lab,
like a safe, like a impacted safe?
Yeah, something. I just feel like if you had unobtainium just sitting in like your mantle. So anyways, we're gonna talk about Spider-Man 2. We got the synopsis pulling up here. Directed by Sam Raimi. Writers, oh my god, they brought a book writer on for this one, unless he was on the other one as well. Michael did you say it right? Chabon?
His name is not popping up for the first one.
Oh, so they brought this guy on to help out with the writing in the second one. That's what I thought I read. Michael Chabon.
It looks like it.
And essentially, Spider-Man is starting to come to terms with being Spider-Man, but he's starting to see the difficulties that it presents with itself of flexing into two different people at moments and having to make sacrifices. And we see Peter go through life and trying to grasp with the sense of carrying the responsibility of helping others, and that self-sacrifice, or trying to keep his love interests afloat and his friendships going and maintain a career. And it also introduces Doc Ock, Doctor Octopus,
Doc Ock. as I like to call him.
Yeah, Thundercock.
Yeah. Thunder Rooster.
Yo, sorry. Dr. Thunder Rooster.
These are PG-13 movies, Mac.
So, and if we're going off just viewing experiences alone, I saw this with a friend of mine. We went and, I don't remember how many people were in the theater. I mean, it was kind of like a big deal to see Spider-Man, and we wanted to see the second one, and I just remember being blown away. This thing, when it came out, and the first time I saw it was like, this is how a superhero movie should be, Not to say that I was like impressed with the story, but there was enough going on with the tension of his life compared to where he was at being a superhero. Doc Ock is fucking awesome in this thing, and a little bit more of what we wanted in the first one with some of the fight scenes or the tension and the stress of, these holding buildings and trains and shit. We actually get to see it in this. And the one scene that I remember me and him were making fun of is once again, they bring the city of New York in and they pass him around the train like he's fucking Jesus. And then it's like we have to protect our Lord and Savior.
Mm-hmm. He's Jim Caviezel in that scene, basically.
Yeah.
We won't tell. They do that whole thing.
I was wondering too, like, you see that? Not to jump too far ahead, but like, you're that guy.
I'm telling everybody. I told you guys about car flipping on the highway here. Like,
dude,
I won't be able to help it.
Are you going to like your family dinner with a couple friends showing up?
Why is his mask off in the first? I think that's so dumb that in all of the movies his mask comes off or he's taking his mask off. It's constantly he's doing stuff without.
Maybe it symbolized Peter and Spider-Man becoming one.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah,
but like,
there we go.
It bothers me in any superhero movie that they take their helmet off, their mask off, or whatever. It's like, dude, like Mexican pro wrestlers go to the grave with their mask on. They're not superheroes. They're,
That's because you got to see Tobey Maguire's face. You got to market that beautiful doughy face. And sell
Pussy
tickets.
Posse, bro.
Yeah.
Pussy posse.
Need to get in the club. Come on, man. It's me, Spider-Man. How do I know? Your mask was on the whole time.
You guys aren't like, how familiar are you guys with the Halo franchise, like the video game franchise?
Very light.
So I played most all of those games, so I'm pretty familiar with how those games work on a story level, on a gameplay level, like whatever. Mm-hmm. They made a TV show on Paramount Plus where it's the Halo TV show. It was like supposed to be their Game of Thrones, essentially. Like, oh, you're gonna get Paramount Plus to watch Halo.
Yeah, big budget, right?
It looks like it at certain points, doesn't look like it at a lot of points, but the thing with the Halo franchise is that the character of Master Chief is such a blank slate character that you never even see him take off his helmet. You never get to see his face. You never see what his face looks like. In the TV show, he's taking off his helmet left and right.
Bothers me so much.
You see the guy underneath it. He's like getting all emotional and stuff. Like, the whole appeal of Halo as a game franchise is that like you never see his face, and he's supposed to be like this mysterious turbo virgin badass.
Yeah.
And then in the show, they make him like this doughy like face. Like, he's not even in the armor for half the time. Like, he's just like there. He's just a guy, and that makes him like way less mysterious and special than in the video games.
It's like Leonardo in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. He's like, we're going to get one of those big mustaches on you, get your hair down.
Big droopy mustache.
Well, hey now, Bob, like how are people supposed to see it's me then?
I hope they don't.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I think that's part of like the hey, don't forget it's Toby, and like he's the guy. I mean, but it is kind of annoying. Like, sign up the guy that isn't that guy.
Yeah, like
Tom Holland.
Yeah, and also too, when they're passing him around, the guy walks up, he's like, "Oh my god, he's just a kid." It's like
he's 29.
He's like 30.
He's as old as I am.
I didn't even think about that. That's kind of.
He's no older than my son. Oh, your son's got a house and a wife and kid?
Yeah, what's going on?
The movie constantly reminds you, like, hey, everybody's just going to be confused at where these people are in general.
Oh, yeah. We just want to hang at moment in time. We're just going to hang in space with these guys.
Yeah.
Ageless.
The
Timeless quality to these movies overall.
I love the opening credits because they recap you on the first one with like dramatic comic.
I do. I love that. I love
Dude,
that choice.
Yeah. Oh, I got my notes here too.
And
Let's see.
they they put the voiceover and they remind you, and it catches
But
you
it's
up to speed so well,
And
like,
it's-
more
but
than any other movie I've seen.
It's really well done though, because there's not any needless exposition outside of having to have Tobey Maguire running again and explain that he's Spider-Man.
Yep,
Outside
that's me.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're probably wondering why I'm such a loser.
Yeah.
It's because I have no parents.
'Cause
and I'm poor.
I will say,
Wear glasses.
not that the narration got good in the second movie. It did get to me noticeably a little bit better compared to the first one. The first one, he's just straight up reading off of a script that he got handed that day as soon as he woke up.
Yeah.
Oh, you might be wondering what my life is like. My name's Peter Parker. I wish I could say I was this guy. At least this one, he's like got a little bit more polish to it. It feels like he maybe read it more than one time.
Well, I mean, maybe he's upbeat because he's Spider-Man and, he's kind of enjoying where he's at in life. Not just the poor,
nerdy kid that gets bullied by the bus driver.
Yeah, because no one knows who Aunt Jane and Uncle Ben are.
This slice of life more, where he's in there and he's like the pizza delivery guy.
Yes,
and it's like
it's a great intro.
Yeah, and it's fun. It's exciting. It's a low stakes.
And you get to see like
thing. Just you know what I mean. Like
I just didn't like him
pizzas.
running again. It's always like a race against time, and because I'm the last one at the trough, like I'm always out of time.
I don't know, I kind of like that though. It sets the tone for like the entire movie, where like Peter's struggle is just trying to balance everything all at once.
True, but don't get me wrong. I'm just saying I don't like how cartoony it is. I don't mind the low stakes of it all, but like it's just really done in like this guy's a nerd. Remember, he's a nerd, and the guy's like, you have 8 minutes to get 46 blocks.
Go!
Yeah, like and by the way, all the the foreigner, foreigners.
Oh, yeah.
His boss Aziz.
No, all the foreign people in this film are very stereotypical, like
post
foreign.
9/11. They're
like
you know
the
what I
Chinese
mean? Oh.
Spider-Man violinists. who,
His landlord, that
Oh,
guy,
Mr.
yeah.
Ditkovich? I love Mr. Ditkovich.
very
Give me
on the
rent.
nose, like
Peter
Yeah.
Parker, you do not pay rent on time, my daughter.
Give me rent.
over the top.
That chick is up there for one of the weirdest looking people in cinema.
Why? Yeah, no, she's up there. And why? Just why was she in this?
To give him cookies and milk in the third movie.
Oh yeah, that's right. We're setting it up for that one.
Yeah. Ursula's a very integral piece of this puzzle.
Who loses her accent in the third one, by the way?
I
Hey,
did not notice.
you live in America long enough, you assimilate to the accent around you.
She's like, look at Toby, he's 33. He's supposed to be 20.
Over the course of half a year. But yes, I agree. There's a lot of like caricature-y racial jobber performances in this movie.
Oh yeah, caricature for yes.
Jobbers
That's
come alive throughout the trilogy. And I mean, every background character.
They
you
thrive
just-
in this franchise.
Oh dude,
for no reason.
Spider-Man's hiring. Yes.
Hey, that guy stole Spider-Man's pizza, or what does he say? Spider-Man stole that guy's pizza.
Yeah. Or the best one is the chick that just turns and goes, "Look, there's Spider-Man."
Yeah.
I don't know what one that's. Is that from the first or the
Might
second
be the
one?
first one,
But it's like
yeah.
it's like a Dutch cant, and she's like pointy. It's
Yeah.
like because we
It's
would have
like-
noticed.
Yeah.
There's-
Extreme cut to like, oh, Spider-Man, I admittedly I like that stuff because it feels more like poppy, comic booky, like, oh, it could be taken from like a panel, like a
Okay,
character's
yeah.
pointing at the sky and it's Spider-Man. Like that stuff I do kind of
that's the
enjoy. It's endearing to me.
Yes, that's why I want to keep drifting back. I'm like, I want to be like I was like when I saw this originally, because that's what I'm saying with the tonal issues that these films have is like we're going for one thing, but we're thrusting in these other, varieties in here with these films. It's like it just kind of that's why it just feels hodgepodgey sometimes. And granted, the comic book strips. That's probably how it felt too, reading them, I guess.
But I love the intro to this because like it shows you kind of like how his state is in life right at that point, right? He's like rushing around, he can't balance everything, he's like always late to everything, sweating by his brow, skin of his teeth sort of thing. And then you get a little glimpse of him as Spider-Man in the suit, like swinging around. Like you get a small, like few minutes of that, like throughout it, and he even like saves a couple kids from being hit by a car.
Yeah.
You know, leaves the pizzas on the roof. There's like some moments of humor throughout it, and then like he gets there, and like that's kind of like the end of that scene at like until he goes back to his Z's. Right. I really like this as an intro because I feel like it establishes the tone of the whole movie quite well. I really like the way it opens.
Yeah. I mean, I think so. I have here really playing to a younger crowd. I think that's kind of where if they would have had a little bit more of a mature approach with it, I think I would have thought it was more tastefully
it's
done.
It's admittedly like lighthearted, very
Yes.
fun, goofy.
Yeah,
but
I agree with you.
I enjoy that.
I mean, and you're taking a very serious theme here and putting it up against something where you want to make sure that a 12-year-old can hang with you on it, or a 14-year-old. You know, like I'm not going to sit here and watch Spider-Man and be like, oh my God, he's got to get those pizzas to that guy. Like he's going to lose his job. Like, fuck, living at home, get paid $5 to do the dishwasher.
Right.
Like completely like could care less about his responsibilities. So there's a certain balance there.
Yeah.
Which
There's
he
a certain
did.
balance throughout the whole movie.
And then
Well,
doesn't he
try
go to? And then it's like he's late to his own birthday party.
He doesn't even remember that it's his own birthday. Like
Yeah.
he goes back to his boss, and his boss is like, Peter, I love you, but you're a good kid. You just are always late, you
Yeah.
know? And he's like, please, I need this job. And then he like does one of my favorite things in this movie of all time. He like slowly walks over, doesn't say a word, rips the sticker off in like a millisecond, and then just turns around and walks away. Yeah. And like the sticker's not even like fully torn off. It's just like ripped haphazardly.
Yeah. Ad-libbed.
I don't know. I just really like that scene. It's so perfect to me. The timing is awesome.
Well, it's a frustration that you feel as you just lost your job. It's like, can't even fucking be a pizza delivery guy. Fuck. Like,
I'm a loser.
Yeah.
Yep. And then I think that's when he goes back home and he realizes that it's not his birthday or something. I thought there was something that happened before that, but maybe I'm remembering wrong.
I think he runs into Harry at something because I took these notes as we go in, and I was like, we also lose the high school term because too much gruff on how old he is, so he's got to be in college now, and I think that's how that first one ended. But it was melodramatic, very melodramatic, and I think that he runs into Harry, and Harry's like, you remember I hate Spider-Man, or when are you gonna tell me?
No, that was at the birthday party.
Was it?
Yeah, because they don't see Harry until the party.
Great. They're all like dabbing him up, like, hey. And then Mary Jane's like, I'll help you out there, Aunt May. And then he turns to him, he's like, still taking photos for that murderer.
With the bug.
That bug murderer.
Yeah.
And then he's like, you know what I mean? It just immediately flips.
Melodramatic, yeah.
Franco in this one is in a different movie.
Oh, dude, he is on, like, he must have been
his
doing
character
his
and his acting.
The whole.
Yeah.
Totally check. Well, he's like, oh, I got to be in with Frog Boy. Like, they
got beef. Everybody
what
is
else
like,
are you doing though, James? Like, come on, like what?
He's taking like 3 courses at the same time at like whatever film colleges he's going to.
That's right. Anyways, don't want to say that quote yet.
Okay, we'll save that one.
And then it's like that kind of sets up the stakes and what's going on. And he see, hey, Mary Jane, I want to see your play. And Aunt May.
Oh, by the way,
I'm not going to tell you about Uncle Ben yet. But.
So there's you got to this thing, like, I felt like the blueprint for the first one got copy and pasted onto all of these things.
Yep.
So like opening of Spider-Man 1 running, right?
Yeah.
This one running. Trashing Spider-Man 1. What happens? They just celebrate the birthday. She just goes next door and they both run out into each other taking out the trash. And they're talking like they hadn't seen each other in like days.
You look good, Pete.
I remember the scene that was before the party. It was him trying to rush back to college. He runs into Dr. Connors.
Oh.
Dr. Connors' class is already out. He tells Dr. Connors that his paper is going to be on Otto Octavius, and that's kind of what gets the ball rolling on him going to see Doc Ock.
That's right.
He's a good friend of mine.
Maybe that'll save your, grade.
Yeah. At least like the college gives him a reason to enact the plot. At the very least, it's a little more useful in this movie. It's more of a thing he has to balance in his life, where it's just like in the first movie, it's just some like offhand whatever thing that he's going through.
But Harry also sets him up with Doc, or Yeah, so he's got to write the paper on.
He's writing the paper on
and then
it.
Harry's like, "Oh, I know the guy.
Yeah.
I'll just introduce you.
I'll get you a meeting. Get you two brainiacs
He walks
together.
it-
and then I'm gonna kill your friend, the Spider-Man."
By the way,
Otto,
Spider-Man, can I stab him?
How is my moneymaker man doing?
Yeah.
Stocks have never been higher.
Yeah, that's a
like
very like jarring transition from like vengeful rich kid who's moping the whole time to like, hey, I'm a
Yeah.
party guy. I'm basically Bruce Wayne.
yeah,
you know?
and then he's also, I mean,
Okay, he's
generously
22.
He's 21.
No,
right?
let's go 22. Let's
Okay,
just say 22.
He is now the CEO of a billion-dollar company, and he's schmoozing, the scientist who's on the cusp of solving energy issues. Period.
Getting like on the verge of getting a Nobel Prize because Oscorp funded him or something
Yeah.
like that.
I was like, how smart is Harry? He like in the first one, they're like, you flunked out of everything.
No,
Now
he's an idiot. He's dumb.
Nepotism.
I
So he
mean,
just took over because he's like, your dad had the name.
Yeah, like
We couldn't run this. Why don't
Yeah.
you try, Harry?
yeah. How's my moneymaker man doing? You two are great, you brainiacs.
Yeah.
Whatever you're doing, keep doing it because you're making me money. I'll see you tomorrow at the big unveiling.
He's like twirling his fingers together like
yeah.
Scrooge McDuck.
Oh yeah.
as he's adjusting his monocle and his top hat.
Yeah.
Like, come on. Just so over the top.
It's over the top. It's goofy. But I mean, shit, that's kind of Sam Raimi in a nutshell, right?
Yeah,
like he's
it
over
is.
the top. He's goofy.
Watch Army of Darkness and
Yeah.
tell me otherwise, right?
Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
No, I'm not. Yeah. Anyways, we'll just keep going.
Yeah, so after that, I think it doesn't take too long before the meeting does take place, right? He brings them together, they start talking. Was there anything else? I mean,
He talks to Doc Ock and Octavius tells him the way to win a women's heart's food, which
Yeah.
is from the first one, by the way. McGuire asked Kirsten Dunst to get a pizza, and she said
Kirsten
no.
Dunst, by the
Whatever.
way. All right.
She
Kirsten.
MJ, and
There you go.
she's like, I'm dating Harry. You're too late.
Yeah.
And then he asked her in this one a couple times, like, you want to get sushi? You want to go get that, a hot dog or whatever? And she's like, no, we can't, Peter. So I'm like, it's funny that he tells him that the way to win a woman's heart is through food. And Peter's constantly asking MJ to get food with him.
Right. Well, it's one of those things, too, where, like, just touching on, like, that whole dynamic. Every single time Peter goes to pursue Mary Jane rejects him. And then every time Mary Jane goes to pursue Peter rejects her. So it's like one of those things that just adds to the whole, like, trying to balance life, trying to, like, never getting a moment. And that's the thing, too, with this movie is what I love so much about it is that Peter never gets a break. It never feels like he really gets what he ultimately wants because he doesn't know what he wants. Does he want to be Spider-Man? Does he want a normal life?
Theme 2 for the Man trilogy, identity.
Perfect time to touch on that.
Yeah, identity. Peter going through trying to find his identity. Who do I want to be? I have to juggle my responsibilities of being a person as well as juggling the responsibilities of being Spider-Man, carrying, being self-sacrificing, carrying the weight of the city versus, who I want to become. And also, while all this is going on, he's seeing everyone around him become successful. Harry becomes a CEO. God knows how. Mary Jane's getting into Broadway.
And she's getting married to an astronaut.
He's seeing...
Like, that happened within a year. She's like,
Yeah, I know.
Pete, we can't be together. I'm engaged to an astronaut.
Hey, she was out of this world for him.
Whose dad is the
Oh,
editor.
nice.
Oh, nice.
I love you, Mary
could've-
Jane, to the moon and back.
You could have just totally not acknowledged it, steamrolled me. I would
No,
have
because
that was
understood.
remember
good.
when
That was good. That was
Mackie
good.
did it on the
Oh,
No Country
okay.
for Old Men, and then you said he is a man of constant sorrow, and he just steamrolled over it, and you were like, and you can hear yourself on the mic like,
There's a couple...
You remember details that I just completely erased from my
well, I
subconscious.
listened to every
yeah.
episode at least twice, gentlemen.
Yeah, no, it's true. He texted me on it. It was like a late night text.
I give
He's like,
Mackie notes.
by the
like,
way, you steamrolled Kyle, and I'm like, what?
Can you tell me what episode and timestamp later after recording? I'll look
I
it
can
up
tell you the
myself.
one from the laugh that he does at the ending of the show. The that's from the Batman app.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah, he's impersonating the Penguin.
Yeah,
I remember that.
It's the weirdest.
I remember that because I include it at the end of
I
every
was
single
impersonating
episode.
the penguin.
Yeah.
With that laugh, I thought that was... Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I'm not going to argue with you guys.
It was something with
I'll
the
send
penguin.
it to you.
I was about to say, well, I know the laugh. I just remember I thought I was doing it because I was so annoyed with something they were laughing. Anyways.
Or maybe you were comparing it to like the Danny DeVito penguin. I don't remember.
No, I don't. Anyway, so yeah, identity with this one. That's the through line with this one. So, and as you know, as you're growing up, coming into the world, and you've realized you've hit that stage that you have to start accepting responsibilities in your path in life. You have to choose, and figure out who you are as a person. After you've already kind of gotten into the growth of becoming a man, it's now what man will I become, and that's the balance that we talk about with Peter.
Yeah. Do I reject my weird perverted sexuality and deviancy of stalking my neighbor and dating and banging my best friend? Or do I try to be a normal, upstanding person in society? And you even have the point where he's throwing the costume out and trying to reject this lifestyle. But to be honest with you, there's a reason he's a little weirdo creep that nobody wants to hang out with in the first one because of what he's doing.
Lars von Trier to direct this thing.
No. Sam Raimi was perfect.
Lars von Trier's Spider-Man, I don't think I want to see.
I would be very interested.
Well, if Willem Dafoe did what he did for Antichrist, I wonder what lengths he'd go to with the Green Goblin.
Emphasis on lengths.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I want to say this about this movie. The first one doesn't. The stakes are very small. Like Green Goblin and Spider-Man. Why are they even beefing? Because Spider-Man needs to stop him because he's a bad person, and Green Goblin really doesn't have a motive outside of
he's crazy.
Yeah, just getting revenge. A little Joker-esque, but
insanity. He's insane. It's insanity.
The stakes are pretty low. The city isn't in peril. At the end of the day, it's kids in a subway train and Mary Jane that could perish. This one, the stakes ramp up with Harry and his relationship, and obviously in that birthday party in the beginning, you see Peter's entire world. It's his aunt, it's his best friend, and it's the girl that he's crushing on.
Yep.
And that's it. And throughout the whole movie, he's, like you guys said, he's trying to balance those things, and there's stakes involved. Like, holy cow, I might lose Mary Jane forever. She's going to get married. And there's a timeline on it. And there's also a timeline on Harry discovering that he's Spider-Man because he knows
the walls are closing in.
And he has all the money in the world.
Yep.
And he just, his business endeavor went south, and now he's taking it out on him even more.
One focus.
And then he's also trying to stop Doctor Octavius because he knows who he is. He knows what he's going after. And he knows, because he's a man of science, he realizes that the tritium in his whole operation is dangerous. And it could take down the whole city.
They did the calculations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Calculations are off. Yeah. And go back to formula.
Yeah.
And so there's stakes involved with this one. And so when he's rejecting the lifestyle, you're like, oh no, because you know as an audience member what's on the line.
Yes. That's a great point.
You know that he goes south.
To some extent, because at that point, I don't think he knows Mary Jane's getting married yet. Like, I think that...
I just meant over the course of the film.
I know. But what I'm saying is that the choice that he makes is that you have the scales or the balance here, and instead of saving the city, he decides he's going to save his life, his sanity.
Yeah.
Because he's going to win over Mary Jane. He's going to get this feud over with Harry. Spider-Man's going to be no more, so what's Harry going to pursue? How's he going to find out? No one knew besides Norm. And then, Aunt May, he's going to...
Well, one person knew outside Norman. I was there that night, sir.
I tended his wounds.
His gilder penetrated him.
Yeah. What was that, Bernard?
You peasant. Did
my
you
name
just
is,
talk to me directly?
My name is
making eye contact.
That's why I called him the wrong name.
My name is Bernard, sir.
Shut up, Bernard. Yeah, then and then the Aunt May thing. It's kind of like, well, I can use my smarts now to raise her out of debt. Yeah. We could save the house. So I get rid of Spider-Man. I now commit my time to this. And then, like you're saying though, it's so great with that other contrast because we all know that science experiment ain't going well. That's a great point that you made.
It's a great to just kind of further articulate what you said. Like everything feels like it's hanging by a thread. Everything is just in a balancing act of like, if Peter steps one way, something's gonna fall. Yeah. Right. And at the point of the film where he like loses his powers and like tries to be okay with it, it's one of those things where he kind of asks himself, like, is it just okay if I let this go? Is it okay if I just let this be? If Mary Jane marries the astronaut, like, is that what is supposed to happen? Like, am I just supposed to not be Spider-Man anymore? And like goes through it, experiences some level of happiness, but then of course there are things that happen where he questions himself, he goes into the fire, saves a kid, and then, they say like, oh, there was someone on the 4th floor, didn't make it. Really starts to question like every single decision he makes and why things just aren't going right for him. And it's such a good balancing thread of like everything happening. The characterization is so much more in this movie than it is the last movie. You actually get scenes of people talking to each other and communicating on a story level, emotional level, character level, what have you. Like, it takes what I like about the first movie and makes those things better, while also like taking a lot of the schluck out of the first one and just not bothering with it at all.
True. And you can have that when you develop those relationships, because they are
absolutely.
You don't need to have the filler scenes of the Green Goblin bombing Oscorp. Like you can actually have like, hey, we're gonna have Peter, stalk Mary Jane to the Broadway play and then try to get her to go to dinner, and have that conversation of you can't just choose people to be in your life. Like, this, and he goes into the, I'm no longer Miss Seed or whatever he says. Like,
I think a good way to look at it is the first movie had a lot of and thens, because it was Green Goblin gets the powers, and then he kills the scientist, and then he goes and bombs the other company, and then he kills Oscorp, and then Spider-Man goes. Whereas like this movie, it feels like it's a lot of like, because this, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He goes and learns about, he meets Otto Octavius because James Franco knows him. Things go wrong because, the calculations were wrong, like they were talking about. He goes in. He's at the bank when it gets robbed because Aunt May's house is getting foreclosed on. It's a lot of like because rather than and thens.
Yes. Yeah. It's not propelling momentum forward without having gravity.
Yeah, like everything feels so interconnected in this movie in such a like much more fluid way than the first one. The first one has its moments. It has those like individual, like kind of isolated things going for it.
Yeah,
but it still kind of feels a little more disconnected than the second one.
So many times in the first movie, like the burning building, he rescued the baby, and then he like. Well, what would happen if that building collapsed and Green Goblin's still doing the woman voice? Like, there's so many, like, if this doesn't happen, then how the heck can the movie even go on? This one, it's like you just said, because of this happening, like something happened in a previous scene that is now, the result of that is leading to another moment in another place in this thing.
A lot of it feels, like you said, hanging by a thread, but it kind of feels like, hey, you've got 3 glasses here and only 2 of them can be full.
Yeah.
And it's like, all right, well, I want to have, like, maybe I want to get all of them half full. And then you start pouring into this other glass and you've set that down. It's like, all right, well, now Mary Jane's getting married. You're like, well, shit, I don't want that. You dump that in there and then you go, well, Doctor Octavius is going to, do this thing. It's like, well, fuck. And then you go over here. It's like, well, Harry's going to start finding out you're Spider-Man because you're running around the city more. And you have all these, not responsibilities, but actions that you're juggling. And you could look at it as because the person who he set out, was set out to be with Spider-Man is causing all of this damage, and you really just don't know.
Yeah.
Is because of who I am. Is this why I'm struggling with life? And like you said, he gets to the points where his life starts to seem to catch up with him, but then all of a sudden the weight of the city and seeing the actions and some of those self-sacrificing moments that he had to help people, because he probably recognizes a lot of them in him, like the guy getting the shit beat out of him.
Yeah, but he just stares and the guy's like, help.
Takes another bite of by the way, Tobey Maguire, Pussy Posse Maguire, vegetarian. Tofu hot dog eater. Yeah. I'm serious. It was
I just listened to it. Yeah.
He did a good job of like mowing down on it when the cop cars go by.
Yeah. And then he's like, so there, it's kind of funny just to see him struggle with like, this and that, and it's really well done because of this, and you just see all these actions move so fluidly, and you get to see how they impact other relationships, and they build the relationships.
Yes, 100%. That's why I much prefer this movie over the first one, and then of course, in turn, the next one. We'll get into it.
We will get
now
into
it
that.
does have the beefiest, creamiest middle because you just set up. You took a whole movie to set up the storylines in this one. Imagine if the other one had a nice buttoned ending where Peter and Franco fight to the death, and Mary Jane, you could have wrapped up all of that, and then you have to start over with all this stuff in this one. They carry the through line, and
they had
essential
intentions
characters.
for a fourth one.
Yeah. Which we can talk about sometime.
Yeah.
Probably after the third movie discussion.
Go ahead.
I just want to Doc Ock.
Yeah,
Feelings
that's
on
where I was
Doc
going.
Ock.
He's an idiot.
You think he's an idiot?
Dude, he's like so they show up with the grand opening deal, and he's going on about how dangerous this is. He has these people within 20 feet of this incredibly delicate, dangerous thing that is so powerful that he has to create these arms to it. And then he's like, don't worry, they're not going to influence my brain. I've got a microchip right here.
Lazy writing.
That is exposed, and it looks incredibly delicate.
It's
Because
as fragile as like a porcelain.
It looked like you could have went like that to
yeah,
it.
and then like, and people are like, won't the AI
It's got the
control
fragility
your
of a
brain?
grape.
And he also, his attire for that whole thing is like the least scientist thing. He looks like a 40s pro wrestler, like strongman. Like
he has a shirt on, right?
I think it's a white.
He's got like
beater.
a white beater and like some shorts or something.
I think it's like,
Or, like,
no, it's not
some
shorts. I
pants.
think he's got
khaki
like
pants that are like really high up.
Are you sure? I thought it was like. Oh, I'm thinking of his hospital attire.
No,
I keep thinking if he's in the scrubs.
Oh,
But, he
yeah.
was.
But I was telling Mackie, I'm
it's
like,
truly scientific.
oh, and then he starts off the thing. All the people are there, and he's like, "Gentlemen, this is a day of modern science. But first, has anybody lost a band of $20 bills with a rubber band? Well, we found the rubber band." You've been holding on to this for the joke.
I've been fidgeting with this the whole time. It just so happens to fit at this current moment.
Yeah,
a rubber band.
yeah.
Dude, and then like nobody laughs. He's like, "Bad joke. Okay, let's get into it." And Harry the whole time too is like, "Otto, you've done it again." He's all hyped up, and then, once you know it, it goes bad, and it's
Science
dangerous.
project gone wrong.
And it forces him to turn into, because he kills his wife. So again,
Yeah, she gets like stabbed by a
bad
bunch
guy,
of
good
glass.
heart. Bad guy, good heart. Good
Yeah.
heart. Kills his wife. Good guy. Good guy.
Well, it's not
He
even
didn't
like
kill
he
her.
kills her. It's
Yeah.
No,
like the
but,
thing
like-
goes haywire. He can't control it. It like throws him to the side. His chip breaks, and then
No,
like
he
the
got
glass.
electrocuted. That's how the chip burst.
Yeah, and then the glass on the window breaks. It flies towards her.
Yeah.
She dies.
Oh yeah, isn't it like the framing?
It's like the reflection
from
of the glass is
Yeah.
headed
Yeah.
for her, and you see
she's
her face all
screaming,
scared.
and
yeah.
then
Like
she
The
gets
Omen.
slumped over. Yeah, but yeah.
Which I like how that like the reflection was showing her face. I do enjoy that.
Good cinematography.
It's
Yeah.
a stylistic choice.
Yeah.
very intense scene, followed
Yes.
up with the greatest shot in all of them is the Franco shot outside where he's like, "I'm ruined." It's Spider-Man's to blame for all
No,
this.
he's like, I'm ruined. I got nothing left except Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And it's like this big money shot, and he drops the ball on it so hard.
Oh, big time. But it does play into what you were saying, which you I wasn't even thinking about is, hey, I've got all the money in the world. I've got nothing left except to find Spider-Man. Like,
Yeah.
I'm going to find Spider-Man. And so that gives you the walls caving in on what's going on with Peter and Harry.
And then it's after that scene where it cuts to him in the surgery room, right?
Oh,
They're trying
dude,
to remove the
X
arms.
The
Excellent.
Probably one of the best scenes in the movie.
one of the best scenes in all three of them, dude. One I was reading up on with the props is that they had people actually finagling these 13-foot like animatronic, whatever it was, right?
Yeah.
But they also intercut CGI, and that was one of the scenes where they had to use some of the actual props and intermingle it with the CGI, which really well done. Not only that, they let the scene play out without any music. I mean, so
Yes.
it is like
Oh, yeah.
tension filled.
It's
Yep.
kind of like along the same lines as the final fight in the first movie, just better executed.
But I will say this is so much better because none of us really know. I mean, we
Agreed.
know it's Doc Ock, but we don't know how this is happening. And then all of a sudden, the only thing I wish they would take away, the doctor goes, he made some really hey, anyone got any beef grinders here? And was like,
And then
yeah. And I'm like, dude, you're a doctor. Who the fuck?
oh, the doctors and the doctors and scientists in this movie are as dumb or dumber than the actual people around.
They
we
really
lost
don't-
a genetically mutated spider. Whoops.
It's gone.
Whoops a daisy.
We'll make another one.
Hey,
Yeah.
I'm gonna harness the energy of a sun here.
Oh.
Oh, you guys better take a step back. Yeah, that ought to be good. 25 feet from this open sun.
Did anyone call their local mechanic?
In the top of this attic area that he lives in or
Yeah.
something.
What is
Not
that?
even in a lab or anything. He's just it's my apartment. Well, we pay $3,200 a month.
It's my apartment that's nothing but wooden columns and windows.
Oh my god!
It looks
dude.
like the top of the Doctor Strange building in the MCU.
Yeah, seriously. Oh my god! I didn't even think about how tragically bad that is. Yeah.
Like an abandoned library kind of vibe.
Oh yeah. No, and he's
You
just
know?
up there doing research, harnessing the energy of the sun.
Peter, it's 100% safe. There's nothing to worry
Yeah.
about. You
What-
idiot. And
So
Doctor, I kind of went through the
I
calculations
think he's
here.
an idiot because he's dabbling. He's about to win the Nobel Prize, and it goes south, and he turns into a villain, and he starts listening to these things that have taken over.
They
his
don't
brain.
see now. That's the issue. He doesn't have any say over it because that's what the inhibitor chip was for.
Right.
I wanted to make sure that was explained, but I also don't understand how the AI has gotten so proficient to say we need to build it again, make it stronger. By the way, don't kill us.
Yeah.
Like I was like, how did that programming get in there?
I
But
also
anyways.
like that they had to name them because you wouldn't say top right. You just say, okay, that one's Ronnie, that one's Larry, this one's Ziggy, and that one's
Flo.
Martin.
It was Flo, Mo,
It was
Harry, and Joe, or something like that. Flo was the top.
Flo, Mo, Harry, and Joe, I think, are right.
Yeah,
Or,
but I just
something
think
like
that's gives them even more personality. That on
Dude,
the set that they had to
Doc
refer
Ock's
to it.
awesome.
Yeah,
I don't.
Okay, I agree. And then
Yeah. He
and
is
then
an
what is
idiot.
his plan? Okay, I'm gonna get the tritium and I'm gonna start the rebuild. I'm gonna need some money. And does he crack a code with a computer to download wealth, or does he, do anything that's clever or what a genius would do? No, he walks into a bank, broad daylight, and steals gold coins with the things, and so they could conceivably carry 2 bags of.
He walks
Of
away
gold?
with 2. He walked away with 2 money bags, whatever that counts.
That
as.
is so pathetic. He's supposed to be this world.
Spider-Man stopped him.
Why can't he just do a scene where he's trying to crash the Wall Street,
know
stock
what-
market or something?
But then you
Bane
wouldn't get
did
the
or
awesome
something.
looking bags of money that
Yeah.
have the
He
dollars
starts
on it.
throwing it at
old-school
him.
money
Get
bags.
out of
Throws it
here.
at them. They're heavy as shit.
The funny,
I love it.
The scene that we didn't get is him negotiating with a realtor to buy that property because that's why he stole the money.
Yeah.
I want to be part of that.
we need a warehouse and it won't be cheap.
Yeah. Lakefront
So he doesn't
property.
even steal the money to build the thing or
He
get.
stole. He said they go. We need to rebuild it. We need to get a place to build it, and we need to get the
We'll
materials.
build it here. He's
Yeah.
in this disheveled weird lake house shack
And
area.
there's probably some,
Yeah.
actually in volume 5, and that's 100% accurate to the comic books.
I don't-
It's who cares? This is
It was
so bad.
It's kind of funny, when it's he's I need to do these things, and then you're just thinking, you just robbed a bank. You got these tentacles grown into you. I don't know who's doing business with you.
You look like a freak, buddy. Also, it doesn't explain he's getting punched in the face and hit in the face with cinder blocks and
and he just takes it on the
objects.
chin.
It's not like he gained he gained tentacles to his body.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not like his face became stronger
He
like
didn't
Green
become
Goblin.
1,000% stronger. That's for sure.
And like
Yeah.
Spider-Man's punching him because Spider-Man has like super strength.
Just
so
don't let
there's-
him get hit.
Yeah.
Like just make the tentacles to defend him at all times, and that's actually kind of cool. That like
They
they're
tried.
faster and stuff.
Yeah.
They do what they can.
It's like he's getting hit by a train.
There's
and
only so much you can do when you got 8 limbs, you know?
he's- True.
Doc Ock.
I do like they dropped the Doctor Strange reference in there.
Oh,
That's already taken.
That was pretty cheeky
It
for
was.
the time, especially.
Yes.
Yeah, it went over my head.
Yeah.
and I didn't even recognize till you said it just now.
Oh,
Or,
really?
Like, didn't know
Yeah,
that
I-
existed.
I caught it. I was like,
Nice.
nice. Yeah. Little
Mm-hmm.
Easter egg drop in there when they weren't even doing that. People weren't even like, that's Stan Lee. You
Yeah.
know?
Which I think he has a cameo in this again, right? Like
He does.
it's like it's similar to the first one where it's just a quick shot of him like running away or looking somewhere.
I think he's got a line in this.
I think he says like, "Look out, there's Spider-Man" or something.
Yeah.
and I remember in the theater people being like, "Hey, there's Stan Lee." That's
Really?
Stan Lee. Hey, Stan.
Oh, even
Like,
back then,
Yeah, I mean, everybody.
Stan
knew-
was leaning it up.
he looks like a weird guy. He's this old guy with white hair
Yeah,
and
it
these
didn't have
big
the
glasses.
sex appeal.
I'm sorry, he has the sex appeal of what?
No, it didn't have the sex appeal.
Oh, yeah.
Insect Man was, nah.
Yeah, Spider-Man.
I thought you were saying that like Stan Lee didn't have the sex appeal.
Oh, that's why I only needed to hear it once.
Well, let me tell you, you're wrong.
Sex appeal of a school bus fire.
He had so much sex appeal, they put him in every Marvel movie.
Wildly
And it wasn't-
distracting.
yeah.
Wildly distracting in every one.
Yeah, more so in the recent movies than in like the first and second Spider-Man movies. I
Yeah,
would
like
say.
it's
Yeah.
Like at least in those movies, it's like one shot. Like he maybe says like one word and then he's gone.
Yeah.
In like the MCU, they give him like a whole page of a script almost. Like,
Yeah, he's like a reoccurring like person in the film. Yeah.
You know, Tony Stark, I believe that I too could grow a beard. Oh yeah, cool. Thanks, old man.
Oh yeah, they got him drunk in Age of Ultron. Like him and Thor like actually have dialogue.
Oh god.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Haven't
don't
seen that
I don't
one.
remember half of those.
It's okay.
Probably not even that. But yes, the cool, awesome surgery scene. It's played out like a horror movie. No music.
yeah.
The nails scratching on the floor. It's super
Yup.
stylistic and creepy.
Yep.
Really, one of the best scenes in. You're right. Like this whole franchise of movies.
Yeah. Oh, dude. And they apparently like the Sam Raimi wanted to have it where it was like blood and guts, but they had to keep the PG-13 theme going. But like in
What a
this one,
psycho.
yeah. But in this one, it's still like pretty jarring. The things that the doctors, because like they're completely
Reminds me of Independence Day, where it's like
Yes.
it's movies, you know.
Yeah, and they're
Release me.
well, and you know, doctors are like, you know, you just think of them salt of the earth. They're doing, you know, the Lord's work, saving people, and they're like really wholesome and nurturing. So they're like you view them almost like completely defenseless.
Yeah.
And then so they got, and then these things come alive, and you're just like, it's gonna be a bloodbath. And then it kind of plays out about it best you could in a, you know,
PG-13 movie. It's quite visceral for it being a movie that kids are going to go see for Spider-Man.
Yeah, bring
well,
the
it shows
whole
of one guy
family.
getting his skull crushed, like his like, and it, you know, it's a little cartoony, but it's like still like he's
And
like,
you don't,
"Ah!"
yeah, and you don't even like directly see it when it finally like gives the final.
Yeah.
But it's still really well made. I
Yes.
really like that scene. And then after that, it's that's kind of where like the movie gets a little fuzzy for me. Not because I don't recall it fondly or anything, but it's because like there's a lot that's happening at the same time.
And they edit it like bang, bang, bang. Like
Yes.
even now I'm trying to think. I'm like, how did Harry and did Doctor Ock just show up at his place and was like tritium? And he's like, I know you know who Spider-Man is. Like,
It takes a bit to get to there, but that's essentially kind of what it leads to.
Yeah, it's another science. I'm trying to see.
like what did Harry do after the botched incident to that?
Well, we
point?
get into so that happens, and then it's Spider-Man going to Mary Jane's play or whatever like that. But then he's got to
He's
save.
trying to like get to
Yeah,
the play.
and then he gets there after the fact, or like
Bruce
very-
Campbell doesn't let him in. You know, he's
Yeah.
like, fix your tie.
And then he's like talking to her, and she's like, "It's you won't let me in. You won't let me in." And she's like, "Peter, I have a boyfriend." Like just drops it
Yeah,
out.
if he had like made it there in time and gotten to that seat, she would have been available to him 100%.
Yeah.
But because he didn't make it, she's like, "Oh, time's up. By the way, I'm dating an astronaut, and it's J. Jonah Jameson's son.
Yeah, so there you go. His
Mary-
dad will fire you.
Mary
Bye,
Jane
fucker.
Watson boyfriend is so fucking unrealistic. Dude, she's a Broadway waitress turned whatever.
Yeah.
He's an astronaut. By the way, he's 22 or whatever.
Youngest person to ever
Ever.
do that.
Yeah, that graduated from Harvard and 3 degrees in math and science, and
And of
then
course, he has the genius pedigree because his dad is the publisher of the New York Daily.
Yeah.
Like,
The Daily Bugle.
The
the
Daily
Daily
Bugle.
Bugle. Oh, and by the way, I saw Mary Jane in one of her plays, and I was like, I'm marrying that broad. Like, what the fuck? They just thrust it in there.
When did you start dating him? Just now.
Yeah,
Just now, 'cause
it
you
just
weren't
happened. Yeah, because you're never there.
You're always an empty seat, Peter.
But it was what's the guy's name? The stage. Oh, Jesus Christ,
Bruce Campbell.
Yeah, what do you call those?
it was
guys?
like the
door.
snooty
The usher?
Usher. Yeah, there was
Yeah.
an usher in there. He sucked. He won't let me in.
Yeah,
Like, can you
okay,
believe
Peter,
it?
Whatever.
I have a boyfriend.
And he's an ass. He'll
Yeah.
kick your ass.
Yeah. Oh my god. Yeah.
And then they play the Jet song. Woke up today feeling down in the dump, or whatever it is. Like, you know what I'm talking about? Or
No, I can't
Okay.
remember. I'm just looking through my notes because I got Doc Ock is pretty cool.
And then
I think it was when he's building the tritium again, and he puts on the leather coat, and the thing lights up the cigar for
Oh,
him, and he's
yeah.
got those glasses
Yeah.
on. Like, he had a very cool vibe.
The haircut is so distracting because even in the back, like they shaved up his head. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like it
Yeah.
doesn't go down his normal hairline. No sideburns.
Yeah.
You know, he
yeah,
just
okay.
looks like such like like I told you yesterday. Half of him is so unbelievably cool, and the other half would also be cool, but just not with that character.
Alfred Molina said he wanted to go for a 1950s bodybuilder.
Yeah, like
That was
the
a
old
little
school
kid-
strong man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and he looks like it. Like it looks
like
like
where
he-
they're just kind of round.
Yeah.
right?
But like one of the guys that would lift the barbell up at the circus.
Yeah.
You know, where you're like, he kind of looks strong.
Got the curly mustache going
yeah,
on.
yeah.
Not that I know anything about that.
correct.
Oh. So yeah. Anyways,
Dude, we just did the Spider-Man thing where we all
oh, we
pointed
just
at
memed
each
each
other.
other.
just now.
Yeah. Very similar color scheme we got going on too. A little bit of a blend of both.
Yeah.
I'm like the combination
Yeah,
of the two
Mackey's
of
wearing
you.
all
Oh,
red,
that's
I'm in
true,
black,
yeah.
and Kyle's in flannel.
I've
It's
got
like
the
you're conflicted on which one you're going to agree with.
I know. It's like I'm a child of divorced parents right now. Wow. Crazy. So it's not too long before that, or like after that, I should say, that the party happens, right? Because like he goes to J. Jonah Jameson, it kind of immediately cuts
Yeah.
to his office, and he's like, "You're fired." He's like, "What? You're fired. Get out of here. I told you. These pictures suck. People hate Spider-Man. We don't need him anymore." And then he's like, "What about the ballroom?" And he's like, "You're hired again. I need you for the ballroom."
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then like he sends him to the ballroom, not knowing that, because I don't think Peter knows that.
That's the
she's
reveal.
dating the astronaut yet.
I think she just says she has a boyfriend. I want to say that she says I have a boyfriend, and then he finds out. Oh,
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
this guy who's like Chad Thunder Rooster or whatever.
And he's a war hero, he says, or like he's like we're celebrating the
a lot of
astronaut.
things happening before the age of 24.
He's got, like,
things I haven't accomplished.
All the medals in the world pinned on his chest.
Oh yeah. He's
Like-
a science dude. The
There's
ridiculousness
so
of
much-
some of these people that are like, we just want to make sure that everyone knows Peter sucks.
Yeah, it's like Boss Baby. Like, oh, there's a little toddler acting like a boss. That's cute. And it's like, yeah, that's what Franco's doing here, and Dunst, and this astronaut guy, and almost every other character in the film.
Well, that's kind of like that whole scene is the epitome of like everything going wrong for Peter. Like,
Yes.
everything is just
'Cause
converging, and like that's kind of like when
Harry gets drunk at that thing and slaps him around.
Harry gets drunk, slaps him around, humiliates him in
forgot
front of
about
everybody, and then he sees Mary Jane with J. Jonah Jameson's son. J. Jonah Jameson's like, "Hey, get a picture of the bride or what?" Because like he just goes up to her, up to the podium or whatever, and he's like, "Hey, I just asked MJ to marry me, guys. How about that, huh?" And then like everybody
Yeah.
starts clapping. He's like, "Peter, get a picture of this. This is a nice moment." And like
Yeah.
he's forced to take a picture of like the love of his life with like this big old Sigma male that's
Yeah.
up there.
Oh. Heavy drop of the Sigma.
Yeah,
Whoa.
I know. I gotta stay current with my lingo.
Yeah.
So we get the Gen Z audience in,
So is that the moment he's like, I'm done?
Well, I think it's like right after that he like really starts losing his powers, right?
He's
He's like
by
swinging
the
back
other,
home, and it's like it starts going out
just
for
to
him.
hammer home the missing remember he tries to get the
bit of
desserts
impotence.
and can't get the yeah, a little bit of
That's what it is.
sprinkled in there.
Yeah.
Well, so he's going back home, he drops it, his glasses, he's like, I can't see now. And then he has the dream, I think, with Uncle Ben.
Yes.
Yeah, and a really impactful scene in that whole thing.
I like that scene.
I love that. It is.
I love any time a character dies and they have either a flashback, a dream sequence, or a mirage, a vision, and they bring that character back, and they do it with him and Willem Dafoe in this movie.
Too. Yeah.
I think that's such a layup. I love that.
Well, and
it's framed really well too, because like clearly it's separate from everything else. Peter's dressed in the same exact clothing he was when Uncle Ben dropped him off in the first movie.
If Uncle Ben at that time said, you're becoming the man that you're gonna be. And at the time, Peter, he goes back to that because he thinks about that when he was turning into Spider-Man and said, I'm going to be Spider-Man, ended the first one. So that's why it goes back to that scene. And Peter recognizes that that's what those words meant. And he said, I'm choosing, who I am as a person. That's not me. And I don't know if, it's kind of like just looking at Uncle Ben crying. Like, I really wish I wouldn't let you down, because maybe some of the Spider-Man shit is always avenging Uncle Ben, maybe having that in his heart, so that's why he looks at it, he's like, I can't do it. And you really feel though like Peter Parker is just breaking down, like he's just gotten to the point where he's like, this is too much, I can't handle it, I don't know how to handle it, you're not here to guide me.
Well, you're not Superman,
yeah,
That was a line from the first one.
You're not Superman,
He's like, you're right. You're right, Uncle Ben.
Thanks, old aunt friend Grandma May.
And she is worthless in this movie. I am sorry. She goes to the bank. She's like, I have these pennies to deposit. Will that save my house? And the guy's like, no, you need.
You're an idiot. You're like the scientists and doctors.
You
running
haven't paid your
here.
mortgage in 8 years. No.
I don't hate her acting. I will say they did not give her the best lines to say in these movies.
Yeah.
Like she, especially in this movie, and this is probably like one of the weaker elements of the second entry to me, is that they give her such long-winded lines
that go
like
nowhere.
I wouldn't say go nowhere, but they just go on too long. And then
the Spider-Man with the kid, and he's like,
with the kid,
he had someone to look
with
up
the
to.
garage sale is like the perfect example, right?
Yeah.
Where like it goes on way too long, and at that point, I did one of those things where like, I'm gonna check the runtime of this because I'm not sure when this is gonna wrap up.
Yeah,
and that happens at least 2 times in this movie.
Because the line you remember is, "There's a hero in all of us,"
which is the tagline of the movie, by the way.
And then she goes into that should have just been the line. Yes. And then she goes, to help guide us, to lead us, to give us comfort. And she keeps it's like, bro, wrap it up. Like.
Christian overtones.
Yeah, it should have been like he should have been acting like he was in the scene of the third movie where he's listening to the professor on the phone and he's like yawning and like totally disinterested, like whatever, Aunt May.
Yeah,
all right, sure. Ooh.
Yeah,
and then like Ursula comes and brings him a plate of cookies.
Oh, if her cookie.
Oh,
whoa! But he's not interested. We'll get into that in the third one, but.
Yes.
And then she realizes that he was there that night, and like the mature, wise adult and decision of any character, she gets like, I don't like you anymore. You're not my nephew.
Here's the problem.
She doesn't really say it. She just kind of like gets up and walks away.
She throws a temper tantrum, and she's supposed to be the wise. Like, imagine Yoda.
No, she didn't throw a temper. She literally. I think it's how anyone would react if it's like, hey, the love of your life, and I know we're not related or kind of some weird relationship. He died because of me. Like,
but she is in fact his mentor. Essentially, she's
Ben. Well,
but Uncle Ben was in there for like 5 minutes.
As we hop into the relationship of Aunt Mary and Uncle Jane, or Aunt
May,
Aunt May and Uncle Ben.
You're saying just random people's names.
I said Mary Jane as Aunt Mary and Uncle Jane, but like, yeah, what what role that she's there to keep him on the path.
And I think they do a good enough job of especially establishing it in the first movie going into the second of like just how devastating Uncle Ben's death is to her.
Oh yeah.
Obviously they've been together so long. Obviously they spent their whole lives together. Like she's basically hanging on a thread in both of these movies of like just not being on the verge of crying, just thinking about Uncle Ben. And then when Peter drops that revelation of like, I'm responsible for Uncle Ben's death, I think she did like the best she could with like hearing that news in that moment of like, I'm super vulnerable. He's like opening up to me. I'm super vulnerable. Like I can't directly deal with this. I have to leave. Like she did the best thing she could, which was like remove herself from the environment.
100%. That's and you got to think too. She's also blaming herself throughout the whole second film. Which that was a problem I had with it.
If I hadn't let him go with you, like he'd still be eating.
If I had told him to let you to take the subway, and I'm thinking like you're fucking holding on to that, you know. But like at the same token, like you said, I mean, it's a very, dude, he was everything for her. I mean, she's in debt now. She can't pay her mortgage because Ben's gone, and she has no way of supporting herself.
Ben wasn't going to do anything for that.
Okay.
You heard it.
He's going to be a computer
analyst.
Even computers need analysts.
That factory needed people to switch the light bulbs, and that was my job for 42 years, or however many years. Who knows?
Uncle Ben was smarter than that. You give him respect.
He's probably supposed to be like 48 with the casting that they do.
It's really. All right, here it is. Anyone under 35 is 20. Anyone over 50 is 35.
Tobey Maguire is supposed to be 12. Uncle Ben's supposed to be 35 years old.
He's looking in the wanted as I'm sitting there. I'm like, you mean retirement? Retirement.
It was a funny thing where you're kind of like, dude, aren't you like AARP right now? Like, isn't that where you're at?
He's on the verge of like, they should probably take his license away.
From and your pension are kicking in. Why are you looking for money?
I'm just so down on them because they're old, and it's like, look, how many more years did you really have left? So like, maybe that.
I know. You gotta talk into the mic.
I am. Like I'm pressing into it.
I think it kind of got blown out a little bit, and then it went like really loud, and now it's kind of evening out. So try it again.
I mean, like I'm having to hold my.
That's how you got it. That dude. Okay, this is how you pop. This is how you pop.
I'm sorry, Sam. I wish there was more.
I my head when I talk.
Move your eyes. You see this? Stability.
Listen, Sam, we love having you on as a guest. All right.
It's very intimidating here because you two are on one side in leather chairs that look comfortable, and then John Wick, and I'm in this like stiff wooden chair, not moving my head.
Lord and Savior sitting right there as the disciples are just staring at you.
I'm glad your hands are in a prayer stance because you need to pray.
Yeah. So that scene, that is another wrapping up scene as we start tying knots on relationships.
Yes.
You know, and
that closes that door. He doesn't have to worry about it anymore. He sees her like 20 minutes later in the film's runtime, and she's like, I'm over it.
It goes to the garage sale scene next, and that's when she's like, you know what, we had a great run, blah 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 blah.
I love you,
Aunt
Peter.
May, yeah, and people need heroes, and let me go on.
Yeah, it becomes like a windmill. It's super long-winded.
Yeah, kind of like you had me on the path, Aunt May, and now you're really getting me back off that path.
Yeah, like it was profound for like the first like few sentences, and now it's turning into like a novella. It's like, all right, let's I gotta go see if I can get MJ back.
Sounds
all
like
right?
You're starting to nag and complain a little bit.
Yeah.
So, all right, I'm gonna go check in on MJ.
Yeah.
And she's into me now. Coffee shop?
Oh, maybe I'm not into her anymore.
Yeah, now I don't know because it's looking like I'm going back to the Spider-Man.
Mm-hmm.
As she's like, I'm gonna divorce or run away from my fiance. That's an astronaut.
So let's rewind it a bit to.
Let's rewind the clock.
Like I said, a lot of this is kind of like haphazardly coming to memory, but there's that scene where Doc Ock goes to Harry Osborn. And
he shows up and wants the tritium.
He wants the tritium, and then he like holds him over the balcony and like threatens him to give it to him, and he's like, "It's like, whoa, we'll make a deal. We'll make a deal.
Stop, wait.
You'll have to cut my arm off to get that tritium."
By the way, Doc Ock has all the lever. I mean, I guess if he throws him down, what's he gonna do? Just rip apart the apartment? Who would think to look behind a fucking painting?
Bernard's gonna stop him.
Yeah.
Yeah, who would look behind him?
Master Harry, I was there to see Doctor Octavius holding you over the ledge. I had the gun from the drawer.
At what point do you reveal that information, by the way? You saw Norman Osborn die, and you're holding out in a whole movie, 2 movies of time, essentially.
It took Peter 2 movies.
I think there's a version of that film. I think it's called the editor's cut, where they just take that scene out completely. And... because they thought it was so stupid and like ham-fisted, right?
That whole third
Why
film
wouldn't
is
they do
ham-fisted.
something like, hey, there's security footage from that night. We didn't have this camera on our books, but we found it. And I mean,
I don't know.
That sounds pretty bad, but that's better than the butler standing in a
there's a
dark
lot
hallway.
of ideas that I have for the third movie that are also still kind of bad, but would have fit better for the third in this series of films.
Yeah.
But so he's hanging him over the edge.
Yep.
Brings him back, and Frank goes like, I'll make a deal with you. You kill Spider-Man, I'll give you your tritium. Better yet, you bring him to me alive.
Yes.
And you can have all the tritium in the world.
Which is like 1 ounce.
Well, yeah, there's like, what do you say, like 25 pounds of it in the whole planet or something?
I guess tritium's a real thing. I don't know why it harnesses the power of the sun, but...
Beats me. In the palm of his hand, I guess.
Yeah.
So then MJ and Peter, they meet up, and this is kind of like... the final scene where Peter doesn't have his powers and he's like kind of still figuring stuff out, like, oh, maybe I kind of want to be Spider-Man again, because there was a scene with the fire before that, and like he saves the kid,
and he had the talk with Aunt May.
He had the talk with Aunt May.
He's
the
kind of
long-winded
like coming
talk.
back. Yeah.
He's kind of coming back around to
I'm
it.
back. I'm not back.
He's in it for the money, not the science.
I'm glad I get these references now. It makes me feel included.
Yeah, right? There you go.
Don't say the movie either, guys.
No, keep going.
So they're at the restaurant. They meet up. MJ's like, kiss me. Because, like, in her mind, she's thinking, like, because, like, she had the kiss with the astronaut upside down. Because, like, maybe she thinks that he could be Spider-Man. And then she's like, nah, it's not him. And he's like, oh, I'm back on the moon.
Yeah.
Which is one of the best lines in the whole thing.
Really weird, too, that this guy that's done everything is getting knocked over by a Broadway waitress.
I love how his character is just restricted to handsome astronaut that can only talk about astronaut things.
Yeah,
right. Like, I'm back on the moon. Like, what does that mean? You have a boner now? Like, so then they meet up at the cafe, and she's like, kiss me. I want to know something. And he's like, oh, MJ, I don't think we should. And then, like, as soon as, like, he might be able to go lean in for a kiss, car crashes through the window.
Yep.
Doc Ock's there. He's like, where the fuck is Spider-Man? I know you know how to get to Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And then he's like, I'll have him meet you somewhere. And then he, like, takes MJ away.
Yep.
And then that's where that scene kind of concludes. And like that, I think that's when he, like, gets his powers back too, right?
Yeah, that's definitely when he gets his swagger back.
He goes to put his glasses back on. He's like, whoa, and then takes them off.
Yeah, he's like in the street. He can't see shit with the glasses on.
Does that immediately go into the train where he's going after them?
I think so.
On the train?
Because, like, he suits up.
does.
He meets him at the top of the tower, saves MJ, and then... Or, like, does he save MJ?
See,
or
that's
does he,
what I'm
like,
trying to think. I think what happens is Doc Ock throws her, and he's like, I got a ride to catch, and jumps on the train, and he, like, it's like, you hang out there. I'm going to stop that guy.
And she's, like, in the web or something, and then, like, he goes after her.
It's kind of weird that he gets his powers back and then shoots MJ with a web.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, very
paint the walls.
Euphemism heavy, right?
Yeah.
Which, speaking of which, and this is a very much a side thing I'll throw in real quick, apparently the James Cameron version of this movie with Leo was going to have a sex scene on top of the Brooklyn Bridge.
Not shocked. You seen Titanic?
Yeah. Pay me like one of your French spiders. And paint her did he. So he chases after Doc Ock. That whole train scene happens, which one of my favorite things from my childhood from this movie growing up.
It's a fun scene.
It's a very fun scene.
Very good.
I think it gets bastardized right at the end there.
Like, with the people being involved.
Yeah, what's the guy?
Like, why not just let him collapse, fall in the water? Doc Ock grabs him and takes off. Why do we need to see him with Joey Diaz? Like, you gotta go through me.
Yeah.
And like the little kid and me, and then the business guy like and then he effortlessly flips everybody out, grabs him, and takes off.
Yeah.
And it's like we could have had him when he was completely exhausted do the Fall of Fate.
Yeah.
And just Doc Ock grab him and because he can't let him die because he's got to give him to Harry.
Yep.
I kind of like, not that I think that it was like the best executed ever. I do like the idea of the scene though, where I don't know if like anything else had done it before this, but the civilians get a good look at what Spider-Man's face looks like. They get a look at like what his actual face underneath the mask is, and they comment on it.
Yeah,
I like the idea of that.
Tastefully done.
And I like, because I don't know if like had any other thing done that before. Was that like ever touched on as like a thing in like movies?
Clark
Probably
Kent takes off his fucking glasses.
Well, that's a whole other conversation, right?
I think that's about the closest we get to it. Yeah, I really like it when they have a superhero with his super identity and they just reveal it for no reason.
Yeah, I don't know. There's like something about it I enjoy.
Yeah, you want the citizens to know it's just a kid who's struggling and balancing life.
Oh my gosh, it's just a little boy.
Yeah.
It's just a
It's just a kid.
He's just a kid, man.
Maybe it's the idea that like finally some point throughout this movie, like there are people who are able to look at him and like kind of relate to him, understand him, like identify a little bit with like what he's going through. It's like, oh, he's just a person.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why the line "he's just a kid" was thrown in there, right? Because like at the end of the day, Peter Parker is just Peter Parker. Yeah. Like it goes back to what I was saying earlier. Spider-Man could have been any one of those people. It just happened to be this kid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. I'll give that yeah, I mean, literally anybody could have been bit by that spider at the thing. Like, it's
they
not
lost
very,
it.
It's not, it's like kind of a twist of fate. Like, yeah, he was chosen. But it's also like that young teacher could have been standing there and then he would have been like, Dr. Octavius, you're going down. One more word out of you, and
I do know what you're saying. I mean, you're saying
maybe I'm like articulating it not that great.
No, but you're saying like, all right, it's Spider-Man. I'm thinking it's a 42-year-old guy that's got superpowers. It's Bruce Wayne, you know, and
it's the astronaut. That's who you think it is.
Exactly. And so it comes off, you see him and everyone's envisioning it, and then it's bland-faced pussy posse guy, and you're like, holy shit.
You can't say that when he's sipping coffee.
You're like,
I'm sorry, did you just say bland-faced posse?
Yeah. All right.
What was it? Bland-faced pussy posse boy is what he said.
All right, but I know what you're saying. It's kind of like, the problem is the citizens, it's always bringing them back into this, and it's like, it's just throwing a little bit too much more on there for everyone to get that understanding. Like, we all know, we don't need everyone in the movie to know. You know, like, I think it's almost that extra burden of people not knowing that he's just a kid facing all these problems that makes it even more extraneous, because now you have empathy built up for him with all the citizens, which we've already seen twice now.
Yeah.
You know, so
and
I mean,
like I said, it's not like, I'm not saying it's the best executed version of that.
Right.
I feel like there maybe is a version of that does work, though.
I know what you're saying, though.
I agree.
Yes. It's something in there that really would elevate what's happening with Peter in this, because in this particular film, like if this happened in the first one or the third one, totally unjustified, doesn't feel warranted at all.
Yeah.
With
you
this
feel
one,
like he went through a lot. This one.
Well, and it's like all that whole train sequence is just a metaphor for what's going on in his life. You know, stopping that whole thing, taking every ounce of energy to stop this train from going. You know, and that's how he feels with what he's juggling in life. And then all of a sudden, people walk up and they're like, "Holy shit! That's a 32-year-old college grad.
That's a 32-year-ld high school freshman.
Yeah, never been kissed.
No older than my son.
Yeah." He's no older than my brother.
Yeah. He's no older than my dad.
I was 29 for this film.
Yeah,
his actual age in real life.
Yeah,
no, but I'm saying like he's playing.
Same age as I am right now.
Yep,
I just turned 29.
Yeah.
I'd
like
shout
to
out
see
to getting
you
older.
fall on a train and people go, like, he's just a kid.
I would like to see that too. That means I'm in a movie and making a lot of money. And I will say, before we like move on, there was that one scene before that was really great where J. Jonah Jameson's staring at the suit that's brought to him by like the garbage man who's expecting like $300 or something. They give him like $100 and send him on his way.
Yeah.
And then he's like looking at it pinned to the wall and he's like, Spider-Man was a hero. I just couldn't see it. Maybe this is all my fault. Maybe he's, and he sees that it's gone. He's like, he's a menace. He's a thief. I can't believe I let him swindle me. Spider-Man!
Yeah.
Like, he just goes full hog J. Jonah Jameson, and I love it.
And the laugh he has too at one point where he's like, "Can I get an advance on this?" And he just pauses and then,
Yeah.
yeah, the hardest laugh ever.
Yeah. You serious? Yeah, everything with him is just golden. And, I just wanted to touch on that real quick. Before we get on to Doctor Octopus's Shake Shack that he's got by the water.
Shake Shack.
The climax of the movie, the final
I got
scene.
chills, they're multiplying.
Says he's building this thing.
And I'm losing control. I mean, that's the end.
Yeah.
Oh my God, Peter, what have I done? This was a mistake. I will see you fellas later. I bid you adieu.
Well, we get the scene with Harry, and
Yes,
he
there are bigger
delivers
things
them.
happening than you and me. Yes,
and that's a very poignant part of the movie. I mean, everything. It's a very subtle, but it's as he's addressing these relationship problems that he's having.
That's a good. I like that as like a good arc to him finding out that Peter's Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Like
And-
that whole scene's just great to me.
Could
And
you
it's-
imagine if the third one was entirely them head to head? And that was there's bigger things than you and I. And then the third one, it's like,
These
this
are the
is
big-
it.
yeah.
The big thing is happening right now, and it's you and I.
Well, that's what Sam Raimi wanted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we got to hold off on that for a little
We'll talk about it in a second.
But the Shake Shack.
Yeah.
What do we think about the final climax of this movie?
Oh, sorry.
No, you go ahead, because I think we're on the same page.
After Harry does that speech, I think he could just say for the rest of the franchise, the laziest writing that they have ever produced. It is so awful. Like, just everything about you get no villain comeuppance. They fight for a little bit, then he goes, "Wait a minute. What have I done?
Yeah.
I shouldn't have done this. This is a bad idea. You need to get out of here, Peter. This could be very bad. Take Mary Jane." And it's like, what? Wait, what? And then he just grabs it. He goes down. The thing blows up underwater very safely. There's no peril. The stakes are completely gone at this point in the climax. Peter saves Mary Jane. She has the wedding day deal. I know I'm going through all of this,
No,
but
you're
it
good, 'cause
really,
you're fine,
it
you're
really
fine.
annoys me.
Yeah.
And then to show what a great person she is, she leaves the American hero astronaut at the altar because she can't make up her mind before then. Runs
Right.
off with Peter.
Doesn't have a grown-up conversation.
There's no
Communication be damned in these movies.
Seriously,
Yeah, right.
the only time that she talks with Peter is like, "What are we?" And Peter's like, "I don't know." Or it's the other way, like,
Bang
"I care
buddies.
yeah. And then the very end, she's like in the apartment, and then he's like, "I gotta go," and she's like, "Go kick ass." But then he flies away, and she looks ominously like, "I think I made a bad decision."
Yeah,
and then
made a huge mistake.
And then he swings by, American flag or whatever. End of the credits. It's like, what? How did you just fumble the ball that badly? Like it just is like. Does anybody have an idea of what we should do with Doc Ock? I ain't got nothing. They had their fight scene. All right,
He
let's
turns
just-
good and saves the city.
yeah. How about maybe he's not such a bad guy? It's like that's literally every single villain in this movie. Why couldn't you just have this like epic physical brutal deal? And really the biggest thing that he has to overcome at the end is the tritium sucking in the Shake Shack, which he just stopped a train from with his webs. It's like, are you really thinking that he's going to go down in this thing or that anything bad will happen to MJ?
True.
It's like, okay, done. Next. All right. See you in 3.
I'll say this, and I don't think I hate the ending as much as you do. I still think I will say it's like a weaker part of the film. I will agree with you there. I think it goes back to the idea of the first movie where like we kind of better understand the inner workings of why Norman Osborn is going crazy versus like why Doc Ock is going crazy, air quotes, because like you really don't get that much of a sense of like how much are the arms controlling him versus like how much is he just being a little cheeky bastard boy on his own. And it gets a little muddled at that point, and the movie kind of writes itself in the corner of like, well, we framed this guy as being a sympathetic character at the beginning. We still show like glimpses of him being sympathetic, but then the arms are like, you gotta be evil. And so then he indulges in being evil. And then at the end, it's like we have to make him sympathetic again. We can't just abandon what we set up before. We can't just let that go. We have to give him some sort of like weird redemption, right?
Yeah.
How do we write that into the movie? And then they do it in a way where like it feels muddled because we don't understand the limitations or the extremities of like what he can and can't control.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, he's got a moment of clarity in all of this, and like when he falls in the water, and I think what could have happened, big fight scene, we have a moment of realization right before the ending. He's like right in front of it. Peter's like, I can't kill you. I'm not going to do that. And he has that, like, hey, you're right. I don't know what I've done. I can bring this down. And then just end up like that. Like there's no climax of the fight. There's no real ending fight scene. Like they have exchanged 2 blows and he falls in the water and he goes, I'm good. Save Mary Jane. I'm going to save the city. And then it's just like, you got it. And then they both do it. And it's just like, how about that? Run away from your astronaut husband and we'll get, And it just like it wraps it up in such a clean bow so fast that there's like really no reward for having this kick-ass villain this whole time. That you're right, you got conflicted emotions on because you kind of don't know his next move, and now it's blowing up in his face again. It's how far does he really want to carry on the project to be right with his ego versus what's right for the city or what's as a person, and it just falls flat. I mean, it's so flat, and there's no tension whatsoever with Mary Jane. I mean, he had a cable car in her in one hand. He stopped the train on another hand. He's killed the Green Goblin, and we just get to a point where it's almost like
she's like wrapped in like iron or something.
She's got like chains around her.
Yeah, and he just walks up and he's like beep beep, and it's no big deal. Or there's like something that's crashing onto her, and he like stops it.
He holds it up, and there's a sense of humor there because it's a little too stressful for people on what they're seeing. So hey, just to make sure we're all good.
And then she goes
here.
like, "Hey," and he's like, "Hey."
Yeah,
this is really heavy.
Yeah. Okay.
Can I pair this with like a movie that does this kind of thing right? And that would be like Terminator 2, Judgment Day.
You can't just give endings away. See, people haven't seen those movies. Yes, thank you. Well, Kyle hasn't seen any of the Terminators.
I just outed myself, by the way.
Yeah,
I'm speechless.
Yes.
You've never seen the... Wow.
Yeah. And you want to know something else that's wacky?
Oh, yeah, that you're named after Kyle Reese.
I'm named after Kyle Reese, basically.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to give you like 5 movies that you have to watch. And when I come back here...
Before you come back and kick my ass?
No. Oh, wow. I'm going to kidnap...
Meta Terminator.
I'm going to take Piper... put her next to the tritium that I've got building across the street.
Oh, in your Shake Shack?
In my Shake Shack.
Oh, nice. Okay.
I mean, so yeah, this is a weaker part. This is like the weakest part of the movie, and I think a weaker ending than what happens in the first one. The first one at least has a cliffhanger. This one could have ended with that, and you would have been fine. I mean, like all the evil and New York's men dissolve.
Way too much of an open-ended ending.
Well, it only feels like the only thing that needs to be resolved yet is like the whole James Franco thing, right? That's the only thing that's kind of like left on the table as far as like this film is concerned.
Yeah, but the funny thing is, he's not even a fucking villain. Like, that's a grown-up conversation. Be a man and talk to your friend.
Yeah.
Like, that's not even like we have to fight. Like, Franco isn't like shown all this stuff. He hasn't done anything. I said
communication be damned in these movies.
You're right. Yeah,
we don't need it.
I like it. We leave it open-ended. It's like, all right, he's got a bad problem going on with his friend, and Mary Jane all of a sudden saw the apartment and is questioning her decision. So and that, yeah.
There's like a bit of uneasiness there, but we'll set it up for the third film once we get into it.
You might be fucking right.
What?
This movie, the franchise almost ends after the train scene. Sorry. After Harry and Peter.
What's the difference if Harry took a dagger and stabbed him in the chest versus what happened with the rest of the 3 hours?
Well, we'll be the judge of that.
I want to say this. The first movie ends, Peter and Mary Jane, are they together? Are they not? No one knows. Peter and Harry, their relationship, question marks, and the end of the second one is virtually the same spot. Like you're you're more optimistic that that Peter and Mary Jane are together, but her face doesn't really leave that she's gonna be in this lifestyle.
I'm gonna go with they're together.
I don't. But
she just blew the lottery ticket. That guy was 24, an astronaut with like the.
Have you seen The Graduate?
Not yet.
Would you stop?
I'm not gonna spoil that.
Spoiling movies.
I'm teasing. I haven't said anything about these endings. By the way,
I know a little bit about the ending of The Graduate. It's kind of a similar ilk.
It's a very ominous ending vibe, but that's the look she gives. It's not like I love you. I can't wait for you to come back. She's like, all right, this officially has like a 2-month shot clock on it. And you still don't have you have the confrontation of him realizing that it's Peter, that's Spider-Man, but you don't have a resolution to that conflict. And really, they just plant the seed for another movie. So it really turns into one big tease.
Mm-hmm.
It does. I don't think it's as clean as the ending of the first one.
Correct.
I don't think so.
I think they dropped the ball in the end.
Yeah, I agree. And I think the open-ended questions that we all, I think, are agreeing on, I think are conveyed in a poor way.
And to that point, I think the ending of The Dark Knight is a bit fumbled.
Get out of here. All right. What
I'm not saying anything else than that, but I'm just trying to compare the trilogy. The Dark Knight trilogy.
Don't compare it to other films. We can't do that. People haven't seen these films. You give the spoiler alerts. Hopefully, people have seen this one. If they haven't,
I can't compare the Spider-Man trilogy to the other prominent superhero trilogy that was going on almost at the same time.
I'm gonna compare. I won't even do it to Thor and Thor 2.
Well, I can't. So now I can't even mention other movies on this podcast to relate it back to.
If they're quotes and are notable scenes that people have seen.
If you're not spoiling it, then it's okay.
I'm not spoiling anything.
You just said the ending of The Dark Knight. It's similar to the ending.
I just am saying, like, okay, so The Dark Knight is considered one of the greatest
sequels of all time. We're not doing it.
We're not doing it.
We're not doing it. We're not doing it.
I'm saying that the similarities between these two films. Well, now I don't even know what my train of thought is. I wasn't trying to talk about the ending.
I get what you mean. I get what you mean.
Yeah, Kyle, that's what I'm trying to say. is the Dark Knight trilogy is critically reviewed better than this, okay? And my point is I enjoy the Spider-Man trilogy more than I enjoy the Dark Knight trilogy. So you can take your critique and your critical deal. Don't ever talk about the Dark Knight ending. It's perfect.
I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying we don't talk about endings.
I'm not talking about the ending. I'm just saying
you're literally saying ending.
Ending.
Yeah, you did it again.
Ending. I'll say it all day.
Bomb, 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 bomb,
bomb, bomb. That's in the ending of Meet the Parents, by the way.
It's a notable quote, and people, if you put it on something in a YouTube clip, would have no idea. Back to you, Kyle.
I was just going to suggest that would be a good place to wrap up Spider-Man 2 discussion.
Agreed.
Unless there's anything else we want to talk about that we haven't touched on.
I was just going to say that so I could say my rating for the movie. I was just saying that, like, I
get to go first.
Well, okay, go. Everybody was dying to hear you say 5 out of 10.
No. This one, from a nostalgic standpoint, from a writing standpoint, from a character development standpoint, badass villain. Yeah, there's some points that are dropped, but this thing, in terms of human interest story and a relatability aspect, has so many things going for it that you can relate much more than the first one, right? And the action sequences, along with the CGI, look better in this. But the only thing that I got an issue with is probably the like the ending of it, and then a couple, like we said, cartoony things that happen. Tonally, some of the times it's wonky, but I'm starting to feel that's more of a Sam Raimi thing that you either appreciate or you don't. This is an 8 out of 10 for me. This is at the time, like I said, it was the best superhero film I had seen in 2004, and this is still one that holds reverence. And I knew it from watching the newest Spider-Man when Doc Ock pulled back up. When you feel that, like, oh shit, he's in that, like, that made people want to go see it. It made me want to see it.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And I had no care about that, but I had enough reverence for this film and everything that I remember from it. So yeah, 8 out of 10. I wish it could be higher, but I don't think it'll ever climb higher than 8 out of 10 just from what I've seen. So,
yeah. You want to go next, Sam?
Well, like the first movie, this could be a 3 out of 10 or a 9 out of 10. But for me, it sits right at that 7 mark.
7?
But
Okay.
like the last movie, there's something extra that made me go to 8 out of 10, and this is the same. This is 8 out of 10 purely because that
Nice.
video game Spider-Man 2 was so good. It made me fond to rewatch the movie over and over again.
Is that on the PlayStation?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was excellent.
Yeah.
Really good game. And like, you know, I mean, I enjoy this movie way too much. It's got so many problems and there's so many things about it, but again, it puts a smile on my face. Every time I watch it, I pick up on something new. And for me, James Franco in this movie doesn't get any better than watching him just chew the scenery, switch into different movies while he's in this one and roles, and it is so enjoyable. It's good stuff.
He's hamming it up.
Yeah.
This one, obviously, nostalgia is also a factor for me. Didn't catch it when it came out, but rented it quite a bit. You know, if I can humble brag a bit. No, this one I think takes what I like about the first one and just exemplifies those already good qualities, in my opinion. And then it takes what I didn't like about the first one and then it makes them so much lesser. Obviously, this movie's not perfect. Obviously, it's got its flaws like we were talking about before. But I think that this movie is so damn fun. I think it's well crafted. I think most every thread connects in a natural, interesting way.
Pardon the pun.
Yes. And to me, this one is clearly the best out of all three. Probably one of the better Spider-Man movies
Tipping your hand already.
out there. This is a 9 out of 10 for me.
Nice.
Well done.
9 out of 10?
Yes.
Dude, you don't hand those out.
I try not to hand them out, but this one I'm web slinging out. Yeah, boy.
Yeah, boy.
Oh, that wet fart, didn't it?
Sorry, people won't know.
Yeah, I'll cut it out.
How's that sound?
That's when you get to play God.
Yeah. The power of the editing in the palm of my hand. And that was part 2 of episode 63 of the Neon Crew podcast. Thank you guys so much for listening. You can find us on www.neoncrewpodcast.com. We are also on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. Be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel if you haven't already, and be sure to give us some good ratings on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Also, check out our merch page on our Etsy website, and you can also support us on various social medias like our Facebook page and our YouTube community tab. Our final part of this episode will be out on Saturday for part 3, January 27th, and you guys can check it out then. And as always, what do we say at the end of these episodes? WWTHD.